Hey everybody, it's Damian Gergiev from the Break It Down Show doing today's intro. Today's guest is the actress Carolyn Hennesy. Carolyn has created characters that fans love to hate on both the big and the small screen. One of the most recognizable is Diane Miller on General Hospital. Just as she was approaching her 500th episode on the hit daytime series, the COVID pandemic delayed the landmark moment. Now, with very strict COVID restrictions in place at ABC, Carolyn returned to General Hospital to hopefully celebrate her 500th episode. In addition, Carolyn was recently nominated for a 2020 Daytime Emmy in the category of Supporting Actress in a Digital Drama for her role on Studio City, where she played another cult villain in the role of Gloria, the executive producer of the fictional show Hearts on Fire. Save the Brave, go to savethebrave.org and support these fellas. We fight together PTSD. If you want to support our show, go to the PayPal link, put a little money in it, and all the money goes straight back to the show. So check out our website, it's breakitdownshow.com. You can find our merch there, or you can simply subscribe. You can also find us on YouTube. Probably that's the best place to listen. Enough of me, here comes Carolyn Hennesy.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay
This
Moore.
is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hey everyone, this is Carolyn Hennesy, and you are watching the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Of course, you know Carolyn. I mean, come on,
Well,
she's been around for a long time, from General Hospital and a bunch of other things. But Carolyn, I thought what we might start off with is when you've been in the industry as long as you have, has COVID and all the challenges, has that been the hardest part of everything? I mean, you're established, you're not worried about day jobs and all that stuff, but how has that been for you? I mean,
Worried about day jobs? Listen, actors are gypsies, and unless you're, Tom Hanks or Helen Mirren, you're always worried about a day job. So, we kind of go from one to another. I'm so lucky that I've got General Hospital, which has been back since July. The protocols that we have to follow are extraordinary. And I don't think to date we've had one positive test. I could be wrong, since July. So, we're safe and sane, but we've been working. So I'm so grateful for that. No, COVID has not been the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. No, finding a job in any day and age, but especially for a woman of a certain age, it can be challenging, shall we say. So that's what's happening.
right.
That's been a little difficult. But again, the writers at General Hospital seem to love Diane Miller, as do the fans, and for that I am oh so grateful. I hit my knees every morning, as they say.
When you were starting out, when did you realize this is actually going to work for you? You are going to be able to build a career out of this? Because I mean, it's got to be tense where you're like, I mean, you got worried about contracts and making everybody happy. When did you get over the hump where you're like, I've got this. I'm no longer worried about that problem. I'll go find a new problem.
Well, here's what I got over, because the contracts thing and the continuing to find a job, that whole aspect. Listen, that's still very much a part of my life. But what I got over years ago was, am I any good? Am I just kind of a pretender and trying to convince everyone that I know what I'm doing? I got over that. And that's really the big hurdle. That's the big kind of mental, psychological hurdle that I think a lot of actors don't get over. Am I supposed to be here? I'm standing in the spotlight, but nobody knows that. And hopefully nobody knows that I don't think I'm any good. That a lot of actors suffer from that. And I got over that kind of quickly. So as a result, I enjoy watching myself, because, a lot of actors don't. They don't want to see what they've done. They don't want to see the mistakes. And it's like, oh, I couldn't care less. I love seeing the mistakes, and I love seeing the good parts. And I'm very comfortable saying, yes, yeah, I got this. And as a result, when I go onto a set or on location. It's for years now. It's been my mantra that my job is, if they've hired me, they know I can act. So my job now is to make everybody else's job easier. That's my mantra in life and on any sort of set or location. That's just my mantra in life. How can I make your job easier? And that seems to work very well.
I mean, that's pretty incredible, because you think about what it means to be someone who does daytime drama. You know, I've had a number of people who've dabbled in the industry. I mean, we had Lorenzo Lamas on. He was one who's like, oh my God, it is so much work, so many lines of dialogue, it's so fast paced and just relentless. I mean, it's a completely different form of acting can you imagine? Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It all has to come from a place of authenticity, truth, to be kind of trite about it. You have to come from that place of truth. Okay. Once you figured out that, you got it. So you can go from daytime drama to primetime drama to procedurals, which are very difficult, to the stage, to film. Once you kind of tap into that authenticity within yourself, and you don't try to steal somebody else's authenticity, because that's never going to work, because it's not yours. So once you tap into your own and you realize that it's yours to own, you can own it, then things become a little easier psychologically.
Okay.
But yes, in terms of the nuts and bolts of it, the lines, oh yeah, the speed at which we move, the lack of acting direction, artistic direction. It's, you stand there, you say it, you move over there, you say that, you sit down here, you say that. And so then it really becomes, and if you're lucky, you will get a director, like somebody like Fido Xavier, who is one of the great directors on General Hospital. Some of the others have been fantastic. And they'll say, well, I think what Diane's doing here is she's doing this. You're lucky if you get that, because they don't have time. So that's why they're very careful in casting, and they cast people who they know can deliver and make it there. It's my job to make anything that is a little off work. That's my job. That's that's my other job. I'll sit and I just say, you know what? You want me to move over there? I don't know why I'm moving over there. I will make it work. Period. Right. And that's that's also kind of the fun challenge of it, and putting that piece together and thinking outside of this box and going, well, why would Diane move over there? Let's figure it out. So, there's always a solution to everything.
That's fantastic. How much I guess improvisation is there in the lines? I mean, the lines are written, you're chewing through them. Is it pretty constant? I mean, you are kind of free forming, right?
Well, here's the thing. I always, when somebody asks me about am I able to ad lib, I always refer to Laura Wright, who plays Carly, who is a stickler, and she's got that kind of steel trap for a brain. She can memorize and have it be comma perfect, word for word perfect, and I am in awe of her. And she said on panels that we've been on together, she said, well, the writers have written it, and it's my job to honor what they've written. And it's like, and I'm just like, good for her, because she can do that. I can't. And I love the writer. They do write so beautifully for Diane, but sometimes I call it garbage memory. It goes in one day and it's out the next, and it's in the next, and it's out the next. And people will come up and say, hey, you remember when you said that? It's like, no, I don't. I do not remember it at all. But there's so much coming at me, so much that I've got to get through, that sometimes I'll stumble on the syntax of a sentence, or I will stumble on a word, and it's like, I'm just lucky that I've got a decent enough vocabulary that I can pluck another word out. And if it means the same, or if it sounds good or better, they let me just keep going. They've also understood that in creating Diane, because again, Diane Miller was supposed to be a 2-day role. That was it. And that was 14 years ago.
Yes.
14 years ago, and now over 500 episodes. So I never knew whether I was coming or going. So I would always really strive to make Diane very much my own creation, along with Bob Guzza, who was the head writer at the time, and Jill Phelps, who was the executive producer at the time, and Elizabeth Cordy. They all sort of saw something in Diane. But as a result, it's like she's like this creation. She didn't come into the world fully formed. We've been creating her. And part of that is that improvisational thing that Diane does, that infusing of humor and wit, and she takes no prisoners. And so I've been able to kind of spice up everything that Diane says with a lot of that. So
I love it.
Yes,
This is
a lot of improvisation on my part. Which
so
they
this
love.
is I had Kate Linder on the show the other day. For those who don't know,
Oh,
she's from
really?
The Restless. Right. Everybody loves her. And she talked about the same thing. When she first got her gig as her part on Young and the Restless, it was a temporary contract.
Yeah.
And it got and if you were to pick something unlikely to happen, it's the maid becomes a major player in this thing. It's you just never know.
You don't. In fact, I think it was last year, on her Emmy reel, Kate's character, Esther's long lost daughter is revealed. And Kate was able to just have some really beautiful, very touching, emotional scenes, which she was very connected to. And it was like, yeah, you don't, those are usually ancillary characters that are in the background that come in maybe once or twice a month, and they have a line, and they, like the housekeeper in the Quartermain mansion, she was, but she was also, fans knew her, fans related to her. And her role got slightly larger. I don't think she was ever a series regular. I don't think she was ever like a main principal performer, but Alice, the Quartermain maid, she created that role for herself, and as a result, I think it was written in that, Edgar Quartermain left everything to her, which is, I think, hilarious. So,
How much writing do you need now for your character? I mean, you've played her for 500 episodes. Can
yeah.
you almost write the responses yourself anyhow?
Yes, yes, I can. And the very first day, or one of the very first shows that I did with Maurice Bernard as Sonny, I sort of put a little extra spin on what Diane was saying and was very forceful. And the voice came over the loudspeaker and said, Diane can't talk to Sonny like that or he'll kill her because he's the mob boss. And I went, okay, I'll tone it down a little bit, but this now has to be kind of my own creation. And as a result, again, here comes that ad lib here, that process. I was able to kind of get a lot of that in. And I, fortunately for me, because Maurice Bernard and Steve Burton both have such pull really on the show, they are so huge in the world of daytime and so beloved that they both responded very well to it initially. So yeah, they also helped me create up here Diane Miller. So yeah, I can pretty much either tell you what Diane's going to say and look, oh, there it is. When I get my script, it's like, there it is. Or I can kind of come up with it in the moment, and it works. But yeah, and the writers know it too. That's the really exciting thing. The writers know Diane.
Right.
So I look on the page and I just go, that's exactly what I would say, or I may say it like this, and that's what I'll pitch, when we're, when we're rehearsing it, the one time we get to rehearse it, and usually it flies. So
how many takes are you guys doing day to day? I mean, is everything one take?
Oh, if they can get it in one take, absolutely. More often than it's interesting. More often than not, we can't. Something technical will go wrong, but it's not usually the actors. It's something in the booth or somebody who I don't know what it is.
Right.
But the actors pretty much are spot on. They're bringing their A game to every take, and if we can get it in one, we do.
And then how long does it take to build that acting muscle to do that, to maintain that pace, to not get burned out? I mean, people must get burned out and take off, but how long does that take?
Well, don't forget we have a lot of dark weeks. now. And so people are able to go on vacation. They're able to do other projects. They're able to kind of exercise different muscles. For me, again, we're talking about the garbage memory muscle. It's the in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's not like rehearsing for a play. I've done certain Shakespeare plays, and the lines will never leave me because it's constant repetition. This is, you look at it, you've got it, out it comes, and then it goes, and then it goes. And that muscle, it took like a few months to build that up, but I don't think anybody knew that it wasn't fully exercised, fully built up. I hope, and
Right.
until you build it up, you got to fake it. You got to fake it till you make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I
Because otherwise you're gone.
Well, but there's a way to do that where you're preparing, you're doing everything you need to do, and if you are given some allowance, because everybody's like, well, she's only been here 3 weeks, like
Right.
there's some allowance for
Right.
that, and
Right.
ability
Right.
to work. And maybe someone covers for you, like, oh, I
That's-
dropped the
yes.
bucket. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. That's where enthusiasm comes in. That's where it's like, I love being here. Can you tell?
Yes.
And it's true, and so they'll make allowances. If they ever have to make allowances are always made for great attitude.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you just know, if they know that you love being there, you're so appreciative, you know that so many people aren't working and who should be working. And you are one of the incredibly fortunate. And if they sense that from you, they'll make allowances for any gaffes for a long time.
I want to ask this question delicately because it's important that I be respectful. One of the things about soaps is that cast members can stay on for decades and decades and grow from being a young person to a seasoned person. And that means that their abilities evolve in some way. Maybe they get better in some ways. Maybe their memory isn't as good anymore. How does the family, the production family, how do you all deal with that as someone? Like, you don't want to go to your mom and say, hey, I have to take the keys from you because you no longer can drive, right? But maybe they can still act. Maybe they can still do things. But how do you guys deal with someone as their skills evolve in a way that makes it more challenging to get them on the set every day, but they can absolutely still do the job?
As somebody who's not on the production end of it,
Right.
I cannot answer that from that perspective.
Okay.
I can only say what I've seen, and that is, yes, you keep them. Of course you keep them. They're family,
Right.
and they are very often more family to our multitudes of fans and viewers than their own biological families are. So of course you want to keep Lila Quartermain. Of course you want to keep, Edward Quartermain. I think I said Edgar Quartermain before. It's been so long since I've actually heard the name Edward Quartermain that I misspoke and said Edgar.
Yeah.
It's not. It's Edward, I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
of course you want to keep, the Quartermain patriarch there. So what I notice is that it gets kind of limited. Listen, oh, for heaven's sakes, the beautiful woman who played Lila Quartermain, and whose name just escapes me. She was in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. She played the neighbor. So anyway, someone will tell you.
Yeah.
She ended up not being able to walk, but Lila was in a wheelchair, and they incorporated it. So you incorporate. The writers are so smart; they're very wise, and they will incorporate until you whatever issues might be going on, they'll make it part of it because these are supposed to be, and they are real people, and
Real
real
life.
people end up in wheelchairs sometimes. Real people are sometimes lose their memory. We just did a huge thing with Max Gale as Sonny's father, Mike. Max is not losing his memory.
Right.
Max is sharp as a tack, but he's playing Mike, who was suffering from Alzheimer's and won an Emmy for it, because these are real people dealing with real issues. And it was a great teaching moment for the world. How do you handle that with grace and love?
Right.
So in terms of the actual actors, they work around, they play to their strengths, and they allow the actors to play to their strengths, and they try and minimize whatever issues At least that's what I've seen. That's what I personally have seen. What goes on the fifth floor, over at the Prospect Studios, that's that's the realm of the gods.
Right.
I'm not
The
allowed
voice
to
from
share,
above.
so.
She would never say that. Yes. Okay. And I'm glad we covered that, because these are the things that I think about, because it's such a fantastic element within the industry is you can hold on to this role and have it create security and comfort and artistic expression, for decades. And it's fantastic to be able to stay in a role, because that's not how pretty much the rest of the industry works.
No, no.
Or you break a leg and it's like, hey, sorry, and then they forget about. But in the daytime drama world, you literally can have these things happen where you are like, yeah, so and so has Alzheimer's, and we're going to continue to employ them, and and that's going to be part of it. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know that we've actually employed any actors. I'm sure we would, that actually are suffering from Alzheimer's or are
Right.
suffering from a degenerative memory issue. But like, for instance, when somebody discovers that they're pregnant,
Yeah.
okay, they're usually pregnant on the show. When
Yeah.
somebody, like, I think Laura Wright broke her leg or broke a bone in her lower leg, and she was on a little scooter with her leg. Okay, they're going to write it in. They're going
Yeah.
to write it in because they don't want to lose the actor. And people have issues, and that's what's, that, I mean, on a soap, they're usually much more exaggerated. I mean, I don't know what reason they gave for Carly having broken a bone, but it could be something like she was racing across hot lava to rescue her daughter who was being kidnapped in a helicopter.
Right.
Soap goes big.
Yeah.
So,
But why is that possible in the daytime drama world, but it's a lot less likely in the rest of them? Sure, pregnancies, we all remember, we've seen, any number of characters actually have a pregnancy and they hide
Right.
it in some way, but just in general, the ability to hold on to someone for, again, decades, that is just not common. I mean, cartoon characters in The Simpsons, sure, but that's cartoon.
right. But those characters never age.
Right.
And the characters on soaps can be a child one moment, and then they will kind of let go of that child actor sometimes, often, and
Right.
then in the next episode that actor is aged 5 years with that character is aged 5 years with a new actor. Sometimes they will let it ride, like Robin Scorpio, who I believe was Robert Scorpio's daughter, I think.
Mm.
There are hundreds of characters on this canvas, and they've come and gone. But we got to see her grow up from a little girl and mature into a young woman. Steve Burton started out, I think, as a teen on
Right.
the show, and is now one of the stars and one of the best actors in daytime.
Let me change gears a little bit here too. So
Okay, good.
I want to ask you about the thing I was talking about before was
Yes.
like, it's interesting that part of the industry doesn't
Oh,
mind aging and evolving. And
right. And why can we go big? I think we have to go big and try to make it real, because there are only basically like 7 story scenarios, and we've covered them all again and again and again. And how do we make it compelling television? How do
Yeah.
we make it watchable? How do we make, somebody coming back as a twin that looks nothing like the original? How do we make that work? And this actor's no longer available. How do we make his storyline continue to work? This actor now has a different face. How do we make it work? And so it's a challenge for the writers as well. And it's also, make it compelling, go big or go home, because we've seen a lot of it before. Again, for the last 50 years, 59 years in the hospital. So we've seen a lot of it. How do we find a way to make it fresh? That's the challenge. And they do it.
yeah.
Sometimes it's a little incredible. Someone's possessed by Satan.
Yes.
Someone has to have an exorcism. Someone, had all their organs harvested, and they're back on the show. So, I mean, how do we? Because it's like you can't turn away. You have to watch, and you have to watch how they make it plausible. So, It's a lot of fun. Okay, changing gears. What were you gonna say?
You come from a family of people in show business. There are Oscars and Emmys and all these things. And as you're growing up, I mean, that's the normal path for you. That's not normal for somebody who lives in, Jasper, Indiana or something, but you're from a town and a community where this is norms, right? So what kind of pressure does that put on someone who's coming up trying to get a gig? There's the pressure of like not leaning on the family name or, hey, get me in the door, and just trying to prove yourself always, always, always. Talk a little bit about that, because I'm curious how that goes. And then ultimately you get recognized at the peak of your profession. And what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, I did have a sort of behind the scenes production royalty upbringing, because my father was an Academy Award winning production designer. He won for Fantastic Voyage in 1966 when I was 4. Yes, do the math. And so I'm the only person that I know personally who grew up rehearsing their Oscar speech, holding one.
Right.
And then my father was nominated 2 more times. So yeah, I was a studio brat. I walked onto my first soundstage at the age of 4, and I said, I don't know what happens here, but I'm gonna do it. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna do it. Period. It just, I was lucky that I happened to have a penchant for acting. But no one in my family either pressured and or wanted me necessarily to be an actor. And my father passed away when I was 19. So I was studying in London. I had to come back. So I didn't have him once I was ready to open the door. I had to do everything on my own. My aunt is an actress, but was not interested, I guess, in helping. So I could not rely on her. So everything that I've done, even though I had this behind the camera pedigree, and my father was terribly beloved. I mean, he was just worshipped because of the way he interacted with everyone, not necessarily actors, because actors, God love them, take or leave, but the crew, the lifeblood of any production. It's not who's above the title. It's everyone that's on the end credit scroll. They are the lifeblood and the bones and the muscles and the sinews of any body of work. That's them. And so my father was beloved because he understood that, and he imprinted that on me from probably when I was in the womb. It's like, I don't care what you want to be. If you go into this business, the crew's your family, and they will love you and or make your life miserable, depending on how you treat them. And you don't treat them well because they're going to do things for you. You treat them well because they're smarter than you, they're better educated than you, they're better read than you. Their morals are often, their moral compasses points north far more often than anybody you meet in front of the camera. And I'll be damned, but he was true. My father always spoke true, and as a result, I love I work with. They quickly become family, and again, it feeds into that mantra of how can I make your life easier? How can I make your life easier? What can I do? Because I want to be asked back.
Yeah.
And word goes around very quickly.
Oh,
and there
boy.
are a lot of talented people out there, but you have the right attitude, you'll be one of the ones that's asked back. So yeah, I had to do it I had to do it all on my own. But yeah, I did it all on my own. So that's groovy. I will say this, when I first started coming up, and my father's name was, because my father again passed in 81, when I started working and people found out that I was Dale Hennessy's daughter, it was not like, oh, here, let's give you this role. It was, do you need any lumber? Do you need anything painted? Do you want any props? It was all the behind the scenes stuff. Like, what can we do for you as his daughter, which was really, really lovely. But yeah. Okay. I'll take a
Yeah, that's neat to hear, because again, in the industry of show business, in baseball, there can be some physical traits that are passed along, and then you're in early and you're getting coached at a higher level throughout. But that doesn't necessarily bear out in Hollywood. And matter of fact, it might even be worse that you have too many trappings of that Hollywood royalty, and it can, we all know people. We can think of people that didn't survive or got chewed up in the blender pretty bad.
Yeah, made bad choices because things might have been handed to them.
Bad choices were available. I mean,
bad choices were available. Listen, bad choices have been available to me, but I credit my dad. I credit my dad in this industry for keeping my head screwed on straight. I have something in my eye, and I'm not quite sure what it is. My father, and even though again he passed when I was still in my teens, my late teens, the lessons were they make up a core part of my brain.
How do you describe those lessons? I mean, again, you're a teenager, right? Your brain barely works, but something's passed on to you. How did he choose to give you these messages?
Well, he would just. I remember kind of where he was in the house that I grew up in, and he'd just sort of stand there and say, "Look, if you're going to do this, if you're going to choose this path in this industry, not a behind the scenes path, and not in any other industry, then you take to heart, you're not a phony. You are authentic. You are real with people. You treat people better than you would treat yourself. You respect. That's the key word. That's the key word. Respect and understand what everybody else does and why when there's a lull on set and you're hurrying up and waiting, because I've seen people kind of go, what the heck? Why are we waiting? It's a two-line scene. It's like, and I say, look around on this set. We may be idle. We may be sitting in our little chairs. We may be sitting at Video Village. There's something that's in a crisis somewhere on this set that someone is working their ass off to fix right now.
Right.
So throttle back, and just play it cool. Bring a book, bring your knitting. Play it cool. Because it's unless they've called a 5-minute break.
Right.
And I'm speaking more along the lines of like a television show or a film right now.
Right.
But because on the soap, it's things get fixed very quickly. There's never really a lull. But anytime, anything else that I've done, it's a different animal. And there's a lot of you get ready, you get to your director's chair and you sit and you wait. And they're working on the lighting. There's a sound issue. Camera can't fit through this door. They've got to, what's happening over here? There's always something going on. No one is 100% idle. There's never 100% idleness on a film or a television set, on a primetime set. Someone's always working. Someone's always trying to fix the problem. So that's why I have very little patience for people who are impatient.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a seasoning in that too. I mean, I'm a military guy, and hurry up and wait. Like that's one of the things we do. And when you're doing like movement, travel from like say a combat zone all the way to home, it only can go as fast as it can go. No one's trying to delay you. No one, like there's a problem, especially like, and this is, I think you'll appreciate this, Carolyn. It's like, if I'm going to fly somewhere, commercial or military or whatever, and the plane is broken, I am no longer in a hurry. Like, please.
That's right, exactly. You fix it.
If we got to cancel, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'm not going to get on that plane.
Right.
I'll make do right here. Yeah. I'll go to Starbucks and get some coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Do what you need to do. And again, it's I'm not calling those shots. I'm not saying I'm not going to get on this set until this lighting is fantastic. I trust that the lighting people know exactly what they're doing, and they'll see if it's not great. And guess what? I'm going to wait because I'd like to look as good as possible.
But that too, that's seasoning also, right? Like you've got a job, and if you stick within your job, then you don't have to worry about lighting. You don't have to worry about writing. These, someone else does that. Now, do you have times when you have to overlap and work something out? Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. In fact, and if like, for instance, on the soap, if somebody has written something and they literally have the gender wrong, or they're not honoring what has already been established, like for Sunny or for Carly, well, but especially for Diane. I can say, look, this line won't work because of this back here, and they go, oh yes, oh absolutely, let us fix that. And the best directors are always the ones that you can go up and say, let me pitch you something. I'm going to pitch. I'm not going to do it. I'm not just going to say it. I mean, very rarely do we do that. We usually will like, pitch something in a rehearsal. But more often than not, I will say, I'm going to pitch you something. You tell me if you don't like it. You tell me if it's not going to work. You don't even need to tell me why it's not going to work. You're the director. It's your vision. I am here to bring your vision to life. So I'm just going to pitch it. You don't like it? I'm done. I'm not, I won't argue. And more often than not, because they enjoy smart actors, they will say, oh, that's fantastic. I love it. And sometimes they will say, can't do that because this is coming up and you don't know it in the next episode. It's like, oh, fine, great, fine.
Yeah.
But they
or maybe they have another place where that idea works.
They appreciate thinking individuals. Which
I want to talk a little bit about Studio City, because this is the evolution of what your marketplace is. I mean, Sean Kanan says, hey, I want to do this other project. And we had him on the show yesterday and we raved about you, but
fixing my hair and I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry. I'm just looking at my head going, what? Sean Kanan. Yes, Sean Kanan. I love Sean Kanan.
Yes. And so he's like, look, I don't want to have to always go out and chase jobs and sit in on auditions. Of course I do those things, but why don't I create something? I have the ability to now and say, look at what else I can do, so that people go, huh. And it's like, really, it's this incredible creative experience, but it's also a marketing tool, and not just for him, but for all of you. I mean, for everybody. You got nominated for an Emmy from being on this thing.
Yes, I did. Listen, with any luck, it'll happen again. Who knows?
Yeah.
What happened? Because the writing's that good. And Timothy Woodward Jr., who is our director and I think also one of the producers, he's tremendous to pitch to. It's like, Timothy, here's an opportunity for my character coming through me to talk about, as the executive producer, to talk about what I think is the greatest mantra that someone should have in show business. And that is, there's a particular scene, I think it's episode 6 or 7 of the new edition, the new set of shows that comprise the entire first season, the back half. And I'm speaking to this actress who says, I really work hard. And I want a better storyline. And I just stop everything. And I say, really? Craft service, where are you? And someone will say your craft service. And I say, he works hard. Where's the lighting guy? He works hard.
Yeah.
This person works hard. You don't work hard. They work harder in a day than you will in a year. So again, that was lovely to be able to say as Gloria, which I think is an homage to Gloria Monty, to be able to say in Studio City, to be able to kind of pitch that and say, listen, this is what I would love to say. So sorry, there seems to be something that is delighting being in my eye, and so I'm just going to have to battle that.
You battle away.
Studio City, Sean did it. He did it. And it was 2 years, I think, in the making, probably longer now that I think about it. He got his dream cast together. He got great writers. He filmed this sucker in a week. The first half of the first season. The second half of the first season, I think, was filmed also in something less than a week. And we were able to have great, wonderful free reign with our characters, as long as we kind of adhered to basic plot points. And he knew in casting what he wanted. Sarah Joy Brown, who is just tremendous in the role of his sister. Tristan Rogers, who won the Emmy, and rightfully so, as his father, who is but not his biological father. And they get into that in the show. And he's battling cancer, and stunning performances. Sean, stunning performances, really great. And again, he's a human being, happens to be a soap actor. We see that part of his life, but soap actors are also human beings.
It turns out.
Surprise.
Yeah.
So it's a great kind of look within, it's like a Russian doll of
Right.
a series. You take it apart, there's something else inside. You go deeper and deeper until you get that fine, that little nugget inside.
And for those who are interested in Studio City, you can watch it on Amazon Prime. There's the link for it right there, and check that out. Yeah, it's neat. And when I described it to Shauna, I said the best way I can do it is someone from the outside is it's sort of like a Gary Shandling show version, but with daytime drama as the setting. So you get to see, like, they do the shot and they pull back, and all of a sudden you're behind the cameras and they're talking about a date or whatever it is.
Yeah.
When he pitches you on this idea, how much of a favor is this? I mean, how do you make the decision to because this is not an established format, right? Like, this is not like, oh, this is a winner of a project. So at some point you're deciding, is this time?
Well, first of all, it's Sean. And Sean and I have worked together. That carries a tremendous amount of weight. And three things. It's Sean. The material was fantastic. And it started out actually as a full-blown comedy. I think the original name was The Bubble. And then credit to the writers, the producers, and Sean. He put some pathos in it, put some real gravitas in it with Tristan's character and some other characters in this first season. So it goes high and low. So Sean, the writing, and also you never say no. No is a very important word in this industry, and knowing when to say no. So let me amend that. It's, you have to know when to say no. Yeah. But you also never know that sometimes by saying yes, you get goodies. You get a series. You never know where something's going to lead you. So by opening yourself up to all of these incredible opportunities that come your way, you never know where something's going to lead. Most of the time they lead nowhere. That's fine. That's fine. You got something else under your belt. You had a new and different experience. You made some new contacts. You made some new friends. You helped out. You increased your karmic, your karma points. You worked off some karmic debt. Who knows? Whatever it is. But listen, there come things to me and to everybody where you just go, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I mean, I'm not going to audition for a play reading for your theater company. It's like because what that says to me is, and it's not me being super duper arrogant, it's just what's going to be the best use of my time. And if you don't know my body of work, because the body of work also has to be respected by somebody who's going to want to employ me. And if you don't know the body of work and the range, and if you haven't done your research, then why should I come and work for you? Why should I come and work with you? Listen, Steven Spielberg wants me to do a reading, then I'm there.
Different story.
You know what I mean? It's like, as you progress, as you kind of get more under your belt, your cachet is worth more. Your name is worth more. And that has to be honored as well. So there have to be a lot of things in play to say no, and a lot of things in play to say yes. But usually I say yes more often than not. I still do. I always have. Because it's fun. Working is fun. Working is joy.
What kind of projects do you want to have drop on your lap? I mean, you get asked, you're going to say yes. And by the way, I get that audition thing. You've reached a point in your career where people know what you are now if they've done their work. And if they want you, not just 25 versions of you and which one's going to come through.
Right. Because I'm still, give me somebody, what is it? Get me someone like Carolyn Hennesy, get me Carolyn Hennessy type. Get me a young Carolyn Hennesy. What? What? So yeah. And again, once again, I forgot the question because I went off on my own
Just
tangent.
the question, and I reiterated on your point about auditioning, like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
reach a point in your career where you are a known commodity, and
Yeah,
again,
and
I
that
love,
has yeah. And you're respecting yourself
yeah,
and what you've gone through. And by you, I mean me. I mean like the general you.
yeah,
How hard I had to work to get even to where I am, which is hopefully not where I will be next year, next
yeah,
month, 5 years
yeah,
from now. But where I am now required a boatload of work.
yeah.
And that has to be honored as well. And I do have to say, you know what? I can't do that, or I'm going to pass on that with love. Pass. Thank you so much. But
The
again, for me, I normally say yes.
and this is an important thing, and we'll get off this in a second here, but the same thing applies, right? For what I do, someone will want to question me, and I'm like, well, I've got a website with 1,000 episodes, and I've talked to people that have won Emmys, won Grammys. My musicians have sold over 1.7 billion albums. So it's okay, like I've done and I don't mind,
Yeah,
but
if someone doesn't know someone else at this point in our technological advancement,
right.
they're lazy. They're
Yeah,
lazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a problem there. I
Or
wanted to ask,
they're like me and technologically challenged.
but that's a different thing. That's a different
Yes.
thing. You can say,
Like I want to do it. I want to research somebody. I just don't know what buttons to push. Oh, I pushed that button and my
Yeah.
entire bank account just disappeared. What? Yeah, that's me. That's
Well,
me.
and also you do a very specific thing, and I know a lot of actors who struggle, and I'm not saying this is true for you, but I know a lot of actors who are so brilliant in their ability to pull off an emotion. And like, when you sit in front of someone who does this, they have this like this laser beam of power that hits you. And you're like, hey, I'm just a guy who's talking to you across your kitchen table. You can turn down the thing, but they can't because that's what they do. But that same person can't work an ATM machine, or they're
Right.
like the
Right.
simplest things. And you must know people like this. They're like,
I know.
they're so
mean,
great at emoting.
there are a lot of savants in
Yeah.
Hollywood. I can do one thing. I like to wear many hats, and I do remember this question. Okay, what would I love if it dropped into my lap? I'll forget and then I'll remember. I would love something. Listen, I always love comedy, and I try to infuse everything I do with a little bit of comedy because people do try to see humor. Even the most hardened hearts do often recognize humor. They try to expel humor. So I love anything funny, but I also would love to be handed something very vulnerable, a victim of something. I mean, a true victim of something awful that she has to kind of claw her way back, physically, psychologically, mentally, emotionally. There's gold in them thar hills, and I would love to mine that. I would love. I've written a series of children's novels, the Pandora series, and I should have one to hold up and show you, but I don't. Self-promotion. Oy. But there's a whole pitch that I've been working with some producers, and we're going out, and I would love to see that actually made into a live action series, with me in it. That I would love to have dropped in my lap because it's the subject matter. It's ripe for the time.
Yeah.
It's girls to the front. It's girl power. It's very diverse. It's so I would love to see that. I would love to see someone say, "Oh yeah, oh we get this, and this is perfect for this day and age." It's like sort of timeless tales. I'd love to have the Pandora series picked up. Yeah, but something vulnerable, really vulnerable. Something utterly lacking in humor. Where do you go with that? I did actually a film called Saint Agatha, directed by Darren Bousman of the Saw franchise fame. I think it was Saw 2, 3, and 4. And so, very, very gory, bloody. It was my first leading role in a horror film. It was tremendously fun, but a humorless character. Humorless. So that was fascinating. It was really fun to play. Very dark. How does the actress come back from that? That was also a lot of fun. But yeah, something very vulnerable.
Is there a role out there that you'd like to do that you're like, I don't know if I could pull that off though, but I'd love to. Like I'm about to do this thing with some friends of mine that do isolation music videos, right? So I'll sing and strum and play. And I'm not a musician. I can play a little bit, I can sing a little bit, but they're like, do it with us, right? And I'm like, okay, that's a really good stretch for me. And we'll see if we pull it off or not. But is there something like that where you're like, I would love to try this, but it might be just a little bit too.
I've always said that there's a there's a role. I'm I'm a little too. I think I've aged out of it now, unless everybody ages up with me. But the quintessential role that I'm talking about is a film that you would only find on Turner Classic Movies. It's called The Barretts of Wimpole Street, and Norma Shearer plays Emily Barrett, who becomes Emily Barrett Browning. This is the story of her meeting Robert Browning and these great poets and writers. And Charles Lawton plays her father, and she's damn near consumptive, in this. She's on a fainting couch, and she's always kind of the bottom of her dress is always covered with a blanket, and she's very delicate and frail. Or is she? She's got a steel rod for a spine. And everyone comes to her, and everyone's sort of flitting about her, and she's this hub of gentility, vulnerability, love, caring, sweet, sweet, sweet. And that is something, as I have angles, and I'm sharp, and I've built a career on that. She's not there's not a great deal of humor, but she's just overflowing with love and kindness. And she defies her father, again played by Charles Lawton, who in one of the great roles. Oh, it's so beyond creepy and awful. But she defies him, and how she does it, and how she escapes. So if anybody wants to see what I would have loved to have done, go watch Norma Shearer in The Barretts of Wimpole Street. And it's also a brilliant film. It's a brilliant classic film. It's one of my top 10. So it's that.
I wanted to ask you too. I had Don Most on the show, and I was asking him, like, what's next? Like, how long do you want to continue to do this? And, look, I'm just a little bit younger than you, but I look forward to the future. And I'm like, man, 20 years from now, I'm going to be a completely different person. And we don't know how fast we're going to age. Some people go to a certain point and then they fall off the cliff, and then they're no longer capable. But how do you look at, and especially in such a rugged place for people who are trying to work as we all get older. And if you don't want to talk about this, we can skip it. But
no. I want to. I would like to drop dead on stage.
Love it.
I want to drop dead on stage. It's as simple as that. And I want to go out having just made them laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would. I was recently in actually about 3 or 4 years ago in a play called Masterclass, where I played the great diva Maria Callas. And that was a seminal experience for me. And I said, if I drop dead playing this role on stage, I've done it. I've kind of hit. Terrence McNally's play was just so extraordinary, and it was a joy to play down here at the Gary Marshall Theater. But I want to be acting till they put me in the ground.
Yeah, good.
Simple as that. It's, when you are so convinced of something at the age of 4, like I was. That doesn't leave you. The fire in the belly never goes out. At least I do not envision it going out. And I'm pretty good at predicting certain things about my future. And that is something that I want to leave them laughing.
I love it.
Just I want to go. I don't want to see it coming, but I'd like to be maybe, unfortunately, if it's on the set of a film and I've already been established, it will cost the production some money to recast and reshoot. But I'd like that either that or I stay very healthy working out on a trapeze. So it's either trapeze or drop dead on stage.
Yeah, your trapeze workouts were mentioned yesterday too. And this is the thing, is that in a couple of decades back, we would be old already. We're in our 50s. But no longer. Like, you can go out, put on some blue jeans and go dance and everything. And everybody's like, look at those people having fun. And it's not like it was,
We would, yes. I don't know that we would be, well, listen, if it was, 1776 or, the 16, 15, 14, 1300s, we'd be dead.
Yeah.
Or we would be having, been cast aside,
Right.
left to die on the side of the road,
Yeah.
or we would be revered as elders, but
Mm,
more than likely we would be dead.
yeah.
So yeah, 50 is the new 20,
Right.
new 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you take care of yourself and you laugh a lot and you have a great attitude, you can,
Right.
you can sport some frown lines or some, what do they call them? 11s,
Uh-huh.
or whatever's going on. And you could wear a gunny sack walking down the street and people will just go, well, what's that? I
Yeah.
want some of that. It's all what you give out, and you're in complete control of that every day. And life may have done a number on your head and it might not have been good, but you're in control. After a certain point, you're in control and you can just say, enough, and you give out with the good stuff. And that's it's like a beacon. It's a lighthouse for people. So
I want to also ask you about your charitable stuff. Obviously, you've got a pretty, and Kate Linder too. Goodness gracious, you ladies are so busy with charity. Talk a little bit about the things that you're passionate about, so we can make sure we acknowledge that. And hopefully,
yes, I'm an ambassador for American Humane, the oldest humane association in the country. Both animals and children started out. And so if you find some quarters in your couch, donate, please, because the work they do is spectacular. And 98 cents, I think it's something like between 90 or 98 cents of every dollar, not 2 cents or 20 cents, it's in the 90s, goes to the animals, goes directly to rescue, rehabilitate, joins soldiers with military dogs, bring them home. Soldiers suffering from PTSD, they've got all of those programs. They've got Humane Heartland. So it's like if you're a meat eater and you would like to eat, locally sourced, but also humanely raised and slaughtered beef, go on their website. They've got, and they are the, no animals were harmed in the making of this production. That's so American Humane, the tentacles are beautiful and brightly colored and long. So please donate to that octopus. I'm also an ambassador for my local zoo, the Los Angeles Zoo and Botanical Gardens. And again, what they are doing, spectacular work. And as an animal advocate, not an activist, and there's a big difference, I understand the importance, certainly these days, of modern, that's the key word, zoos and aquariums, because we've run out of space, we're killing species, and these are the last arcs of preservation. So the Los Angeles Zoo and Botanical Gardens, for those are the two big ones for me. I also donate to Lek Chailart's Elephant Nature Park in Chiang Mai, right outside of Chiang Mai in Thailand. But for anyone who's at all interested in donating to what I love, find your local shelter, donate your blankets. If you're going to Costco, buy an extra flat of dog food, or split yours up and donate a can or two to your local shelter. Blankets, chew toys. If you're buying a toy for your animal, just pick up something cheap, pick up a bag of treats and take it to your local shelter. And or your local zoo. And if your local zoo does not meet approved accredited standards, look them up. They're really cool. They're on the American Humane website or the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, AZA or ZAA. If they don't meet those standards, write a letter. Talk to the curator of the zoo collection. Talk to the CEO or the chairman. Go find somebody to talk to and say, I want these changes made. And then I will be able to tout my home zoo as a great place to go. But I want to see that. I want to see this. That beaver enclosure is not right. That elephant enclosure, I want to see elephant enrichment happening. I want that program in. Because if enough people do that, people will listen.
Yeah.
So it's all about the animals. It's what's best for them. And that's why I have a friend who's who's keeping their dog alive for them. And I just am losing my shit. And I say, you have to always think about what's in the best interest of the animal. What's in the best interest of the animal. And it's tough, but you got to let go. Gotta let go, make room in your heart for something else. So animals, and our returning vets, and our men and women who do, and that also includes police officers. So
Sure.
anyone in my life who is doing what I couldn't do in a million years, who is keeping me safe, who is protecting our borders, protecting the freedoms that we have in this country, who is putting their life on the line every single day, because that's the ultimate respect. That is the ultimate respect. So I also, veteran programs, and you get the best of both worlds when you join a vet with a, returning military dog.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
My brother's going to get a service dog soon too, and you're right. It's all through the charities, and it makes it possible. I also wanted to add too, if you are, for the viewers, if you're watching and you're like, I've been meaning to do this, all you've got to do is buy a Charity on Top gift card and give it to someone who does charity stuff, and then they will donate it to whatever charity they want. It's like a gift card, but it's for charity, and there's no more profitable way for the charity to receive money than this way, because it comes in a big wad of cash, and you can cover the transaction fee is like standard credit card transaction fee. It's super low. So you can
do some research. Do some research though, because for instance, I personally would not support PETA.
No, and I'm not saying this isn't that. So I buy a gift card and then I give it to you, and then you give it to whatever charity you want.
But the people that you're giving those cards to,
yes.
do your research.
Yes.
Do your research. Make sure that you are giving to an organization that actually does what they say they're going to do, that is not encumbered with slush funds or lawyers or big marketing campaigns.
Right.
And actually the money goes to
the
cause that's important to you.
Yeah.
That it actually affects the cause that's important to you. It's not paying overhead. So,
hey, I don't want to keep you any longer, but is there any question I should have asked you? Is there anything that we should have talked about?
No, we talked about Pandora, the book series. Go buy the book series. Pandora Gets Jealous. That's the first title. We talked a little bit about the trapeze. Yes. Studio City. All love to Sean Kanan. Soaps. God bless General Hospital. God bless the fans. God bless the fans. Let's see. Life in the time of COVID. No, I think we're good. If we can do it again, I'd love to do it again.